Episode 225 of the TV Dudes podcast, recorded February 6th, 2019. God save the Queen.
Tonight, Randy bumps a table. Les fixes his headphones.
Hey! What grateful we are.
And Kyle stubs his toe. Ow! You kicked me.
Well, we gotta make it happen.
Tonight on the TV Dudes.
Hey, if you guys don't know what that whole intro thing was, it's because you don't watch enough Grand Tour. Or or
the 26 plus years of Top Gear that came before it.
Yeah, weren't there like more than half my life worth of Top Gear?
Oh my gosh!
I didn't want to assume this was a running gag that went all the way back through Top Gear. But.
Oh yeah, for the most part, they changed it up a little bit. Like when they came on with the new show, there's a lot of stuff they couldn't take with them from the BBC show. So a lot of the new segments are just jokes about how they can't do
segments.
Yeah.
How
Brain
they can't Crash and.
Chat Street.
I'd say Davy Jones looks good, but the rest of the monkeys did not age the way I expected.
No, not at
all. Folks, we are the TV Dudes. I'm Grant.
I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
We got a full house again this week, and that is because we have a very special episode. This is a Patreon-requested episode. I'm not going to do that every time. I don't know why I did that. That was a little weird. Anyway, we got an email from a person who calls themselves Not Kyle. Mm-hmm. So this person went to Patreon. They made a special $20 an episode pledge just so that they could request this episode. And here's the email. I'll go ahead and read it to you guys. It says, "Hey, this is definitely not Kyle Scott, but wow, does that handsome devil have great taste in shows? There should be a Grand Tour episode soon, and the other dudes must completely watch at least one of the two existing series, plus the new episodes for Season 3. Sincerely, obviously not Kyle at all." What?
We were sure this was Kyle.
I mean, that's deep down, Grant, aren't we all not Kyle?
Except for Kyle.
Except for Kyle. Well, maybe.
I don't think there's anything I can say to you guys at this point besides the real person coming forward. Like, I'm Harvey Dent up here saying I'm Batman. Like, Bruce Wayne, come save my ass. Who is this?
Dude, just admit it.
Yeah, if you admit it, you get your $20 back.
Yeah,
I got so excited when you sent this to me, and I didn't get the context from your message that you assumed it was me. I was just like, this is the best thing ever. And then everybody's like, God, Kyle, so pathetic. Like, we'll give you your money back. It's like, come on.
Yeah, your whole response is like, Kyle, you don't have to be a patron. If you want us to do an episode for you, we'll do an episode. And you're like, oh, cool, man, right on, or something like that. I'm like, so I thought you understood, but
no. This is definitely if the real Slim Shady could please stand up, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, folks, we are going to be talking about Grand Tour, which is in its third and is this final season?
I believe this is the final season.
Yeah, and
although from watching the episodes, they don't really bring much attention to that.
Yeah. So, as of Series 3, we've been able to catch up on the 4 episodes of that, as well as at least Kyle has a rich back history of all of
I've
Grand
seen a few
Tour.
episodes of this.
and Top Gear. I think several of us have seen a couple episodes of Top Gear as well back in the day. And so we're going to be diving into that in just a bit. We're also going to be talking about some Doctor Who. And we're going to be, from the previous season, I guess that finally wrapped up,
that
right?
just wrapped New Year's Day.
And we're going to be talking about Sex Education, that show that British show that popped up on Netflix a couple weeks back. A month or two back, I don't know. Anyway, this is a show about some long-running old shows. It's a British show, and we have our resident Anglophile here, Kyle.
A little Anglophile-ish.
Now, Kyle, what is it about British shows that you're so into?
You know, It's an interesting question. I remember the first time I ever got to like sit in on a TV Dudes recording. You guys did a little round robin. There was like a handful of us there, and you're like, "What's your favorite show?" And it was like a record scratch when I was like, "Top Gear," like hands down. And I was like, "What?"
I'd never heard of it.
It's like saying Project Runway or something. We'll be like, okay.
You know, if I could kind of like condense down what it is about Top Gear, Grand Tour, any British shows that I like, is I feel that they expect a slightly higher level of understanding from the audience. Like they expect their audience to be a bit smarter, so they don't like spoon feed jokes as much.
Right.
So it makes me feel a little more clever when I get the joke, or when I'm like kind of keeping up with where a certain thought or something is going.
It's a bunch of blokes ribbing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the British humor is a lot drier, at least, and their wit is more of an intellectual wit than the physical comedy that I think a lot of our shows kind of seem to fall back on.
Kyle,
slapstick.
Kyle, I have an important question for you. Do you make tea when you watch these shows?
And crumpets.
Do you watch them with your pinky out?
Funny enough, I have started doing afternoon tea. But, you know, I did that when I went to South Africa, actually. They have, it's a rooibos, it's a red tea that they have down there. And because we went to London for a week before South Africa, and I didn't drink any tea while I was there. But in South Africa, I got hooked on this red tea, and now, I'll do a glass like every afternoon.
That's not red tea, that's heroin.
It's fucking great is what it is,
they
Randy.
make from this flour they call the poppy.
Sounds delicious.
Everybody likes it.
So what about the rest of you? Randy and Les, do you guys watch a lot of British shows?
I've seen a fair number of like British comedies back in the day, I guess.
Yeah. Faulty Towers is a huge favorite of mine when I was a kid. Whenever I could find a way to watch it.
Monty Python.
Yeah, Monty Python. But British shows, and I'm sure this is different for kids now that have like streaming access to stuff, but it was literally just like waiting for your local PBS station to show an odd British show.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And so like most of the time that was going to be like a Masterpiece Theater-ish kind of thing. You might see Upstairs, Downstairs, or...
Like even when The Office came out, it was before we had DVR or anything. And so it was like word of mouth and people handing you...
I went to I Love Video and got...
Yeah, be like, here's this
Office.
DVD set called The Office. You need to watch it. It's only 6 episodes. I'm like, how's that a show?
I've still barely seen any Absolutely Fabulous.
So I didn't actually like The British Office. What I've seen of it.
What?
Yeah, I didn't.
It's a big departure from the American Office. I think they're
Gervais
two
other way around.
totally different shows.
Well,
yeah,
less funny than
technically.
more mean.
And here's where I come at it. I've realized that while I've watched a fair amount of British TV and British comedies, I am not an Anglophile.
Did you watch The British Office after the American
Yes.
Office?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I see the problem there.
Yeah.
Like you have to realize like how groundbreaking that show was before we took our American take on it and just like did like 12 different shows that are all emulating the exact same thing he's doing, but like
And made
he was
it better like
pioneering-
America does.
I don't know. I mean, we did our own take. I now like
I
the
think The
American
Office and Parks
more.
and Rec combined are both better
Yeah,
than the...
we do more seasons and go, we're better, we did more.
That's right. That's true. We do it bigger.
but
we
also
do it-
better.
I do like the American Office more now, but I think it's just because, you know, American culture, it just obviously is going to resonate a bit more with most of us except for Kyle. And maybe even not Kyle. Who knows?
I just recently started watching Peep Show on the IT Crowd, and I like it, but I definitely feel like it's everyone else is so invested in it because they watched it a while back, and I've definitely run into this with their shows. Like you'll run into something that I love, like Cheers, where if I try to introduce somebody to it now, they'll be like, "Yeah, this is not funny." This was
what's
30
that
years
Simon
ago.
Pegg one that everyone raves
Spaced.
about?
Spaced.
And I
Spaced.
love Space.
I love Spaced.
Yeah.
But
But it's not as good as the films that came after it.
Well,
like
there's
it's
a-
definitely the blueprint.
there's a lot of the same way that American sitcoms have like tropes that they fall back on that's like a shorthand, everybody knows this bit. British shows tend to do some odd stuff that I can tell like, oh, a British audience just doesn't think that this is weird that you finish every scene of this sitcom by slow motion speeding up and dropping to like an electro soundtrack for just a second. Green Wing, I loved Green Wing. But it did that at like the end of every scene. Like they do like a wacky little like dun 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 dun, like a Benny Hill-ish sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, y'all are just used to this. Isn't fucked up weird every time for y'all. So there's a charm to British shows for me that they're different than the tropes I know, but sometimes they're also just odd in a way that undercuts their power for me.
Well, I also love British sketch shows. The Mighty Boosh.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I did love Mighty
That's
Boosh.
hilarious.
I'm old Greg.
The one that's got the Hangman show. There's one that's like, I don't remember what it's called, but like basically it's a guy who's a hangman, and they go out and do all these-
Snuffbox.
Snuffbox.
Love Snuffbox.
Snuffbox is really funny and has some really clever bits.
Yeah.
But the sketch shows I tend to enjoy watching. Like I like to see a sketch on YouTube and then maybe track down more, but I don't need to watch like the whole series.
Yeah, occasionally I'll catch an interview on Graham Norton Effect or whatever it's called, and I'm like, all right, cool, but I don't know.
I love that every time television gets really dark, it's always a British show for me. It seems like.
Have you guys ventured at all into like the British like quiz shows where it's like a game
Q
show
or
with all
whatever.
British celebrities? Half the time I haven't heard of any of these people. But
But that Mitchell dude that's from Peep Show is like on every single one.
Oh yeah, he's on a bunch of that stuff. Richard Iowardi from the IT Crowd is on tons of these. He actually did this other one called Gadget Man. He did I think Stephen Fry did the first one, but he did the second season where it's just a gadget TV show where he just goes around and he's like, look at these cool gadgets, but he says it in that accent and he puts his little wit and humor to it, and it's like I'm all ears.
There's a show, Nathan Barley, that was absolutely fantastic. No pun intended. That I want to say involved Charlie Brooker. It also had some of the guys from Mighty Boosh. Absolutely great show about this total friggin' douchebag who gets a blog that just basically takes off. Trashbat.cock. It's trashbat.co.ck. He registered it in the Cook Islands so that he could have that web address. And it's just this fucked up screwball 6-episode thing, and a lot of the same people were in another show called No Heroics. These I assume aired in England at some point. I had a roommate who torrented the whole world, it seemed like, for about a year, and would just show up with hey, we're watching No Heroics. What the fuck is that?
Yeah, and then I had people who loved the Misfits.
Yes, I have Misfits.
And of course Black Mirror, which now is a Netflix show that started out as a British show from Charlie Brooker. There's definitely a lot of talent in the British
Monkey
TV.
Dust. There was an animated show called Monkey Dust that is just dark as hell. But I still make references to it every once in a while and realize, oh shit, no one in the room is possibly seen that.
Stephen Moffat, who did Doctor Who, but prior to that did Sherlock, did Jekyll, and did Coupling, all of which are really good shows.
Oh man, that Jekyll with James Nesbitt was great.
It was really good.
Luther, there's a new show, I'll say it's called Marcella, or is that what it is?
Yep.
I'm pretty impressed. It seemed like, the TV revolution was happening across the pond too, and just so many great shows. All thanks to Sopranos or over there.
Do you ever have people when you try to watch British shows with them, because the big thing about British TV especially is the frame rate changed slower. So I think we slowed down our frame rate, and they were still using the higher frame rate over there. So you watch some shows like Spaced, IT Crowd, actually Mighty a lot of them, and it looks like 90s television.
Yeah.
From
when
America.
I was a kid, British shows looked, decades behind American. It looked like you shot a play with a home camera.
It also aired on PBS, and we were like, this tracks.
I just assumed I don't really know what's up with it. The first time I saw Eddie Izzard do a bit about scale your ambitions down, we're British.
Also, the British model has definitely influenced a lot of what we like about prestige TV. Shorter seasons, shows with endings.
Yes, I love all that.
All of that came
Little
from
Christmas
British TV.
special. Give us a Christmas special. That's what I
where's
love.
the Good Place Christmas
New Year's
special?
special now.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into talking about the Grand Tour. So, the Grand Tour is a spin-off from Top Gear, which is one of the just a huge, long-running
An institution.
show about loving cars.
Grant, don't forget, spoiler warning. Spoiler warning for 400 years of what's the big
Grand Tour and Top Gear.
Top Gear, and 3 seasons of Grand Tour. We're going to spoil all of it.
We don't have to discuss the American Top Gear, do we?
We'll also spoil Doctor Who and Sex Education.
Yeah.
So, gear up for that as well.
Gear up.
But first, yes, the Grand Tour. It's on its third season, and if I'm correct, Jeremy Clarkson shat the bed, being kind of a shithead in real life, and so they couldn't keep doing Top Gear. So they said, "Well, we'll just change the name. We'll call it the Grand Tour, and we'll change a little bit of the format, and we'll have us traveling outside of our country where we're no longer allowed." I don't know what's actually going on.
Then
with him.
did he shit the bed again? Because Jeremy Clarkson seems like a terrible human being.
Oh man, he's a real asshole in the show.
He's an asshole, but I think it's like kind of intentional that he's the foil, right?
And here's the thing too. Like he can be an asshole. He can be whatever you want. But when he left, the producer woman came with him. The co-host came with him. And from what I've read, the whole crew still wanted to be a part of it. Still wanted to make this show. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, for as much of an asshole as he could possibly be, or anything that he said, the people who work with him every day still really enjoy what they're doing.
And they seem to enjoy being around him. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody's killed him with a car yet.
And I feel like the quality of work
like a super
is
easy thing.
At the highest level that it's ever been. Because something that the show I don't feel like often gets credit for is when they do these segments with cars, they shoot these cars like a Mercedes commercial. Like they come up with
their cinematography is beautiful.
Really
really
artistic, creative ways.
Almost CG clean at some points where I'm like, holy crap, is that real?
It's so captivating and engaging. I mean, this is I do a beer podcast. And the guy I do that with, John Rubio, always talks about his reverence for Top Gear as like if ever we were going to do a beer show, we'd want to be modeled after this. Like, how do you take something that is not interesting to a lot of people, like beer or cars? Like some people just aren't into it, and yet I can sit down and watch this show, and I'm just immediately engaged in like these silly like contrived scenarios that they just kind of drum up. So it'll be like, we have a truck, now let's decide it's the apocalypse and we got to drive away or whatever.
I love what you just mentioned too, is you hit on something that people like find astounding is I don't like cars. Like, this is my favorite show, and I watch it all the time.
You're not a gearhead.
But yeah, like, cars did not bring me to this show. It was the personalities of the presenters and the way that they presented the information. If anything, I'm more into cars after watching the show.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny because something else that did that was Car Talk on NPR. Mm-hmm. Like, again, not a big car person, but I could listen to Car Talk just all day long.
The two roommates that used to watch, the only reason I've seen any Top Gear was I had two roommates that used to watch the shit out of it. And it surprised me. Like, I sat down to watch it a couple episodes with them because neither of them were into cars at all. Like, not even a little bit. And I definitely get it scratching that same itch as, like, Click and Clack on Car Talk, because it is that same thing of, like, I don't care about any of this. You guys are just fun.
Yeah.
I am not as sold on it as I was on Car Talk. I don't enjoy the three guys as much. There's something about them ribbing each other. When it works, it's great, and I'm always surprised. Like, oh my god, I think I just watched an hour about a car.
A lot of times it feels kind of scripted.
Well, it's funny because that definitely is something where the scripted moments, you know, they're scripted. In fact, so much so, I find that in the intros of the show, a line is like seldomly spoken where it doesn't have a payoff coming right after it. Like everything they say, they're thinking about what's the bigger joke here. But the exception is when they go on these road trips where they go, like in this season, to visit Colombia.
Like when they threw rocks at each other, I didn't feel that was scripted. It felt like they were actually really hot and pissed off at each
or
other.
they get like stuck in a hailstorm. Or there was a few years ago, I think they were in South America, and there were people who were protesting them being there, and they were pelting big rocks at the car. And they actually had to have like other people, like security people, drive the vehicles they were doing in the show because people were attacking the vehicles, and they were having trouble getting their huge caravan through like these dangerous places. So they have like all this scripted stuff, but they still throw themselves in these situations where you're like, wait, where does the script stop? And like, where is this really like, oh shit, they're dealing with the situation now.
I love their aside segments, like watching Davy Jones learn to drift. I know that's not his name, but he's tiny. And I like James May from I've seen him do other kind of documentary series of like James May explains tech gadgets and shit. Mm-hmm. And so like watching, I think it was in the same episode, watching May be dragged along to winch all these guys doing like geo-tracking and like purposely getting four-wheel drive vehicles stuck like 50 times in a day.
That was a good
And every
episode.
time like this Irish dude's like, no, get out, hook the winch to that tree. Like I think May just eats it in the mud like 20 times.
There was an episode of Top Gear where they all did rallying and they got teamed up with a rally companion, and they were all just like, I think Clarkson had like a guy who didn't speak English. I forget the other one, but then James May was like a supermodel. But she was just on her phone the whole time, and he was so intimidated by her the whole time he couldn't like really get her help to like drive the rally. He's a funny character on this show.
So in watching this, I stopped. I started watching a little bit of the episode, and then I stopped. And Randy obviously started watching and caught up and passed me before I could keep watching. And so he posted it. He posted on Facebook at one point. He's like, "Man, there's some great stuff in this show, Grand Tour, but every time this Jeremy Clarkson guy talks, I want to fight him. I can't stand him."
I'm so glad. I really don't like Jeremy Clarkson.
By the way, I'd like to go back. I don't know that I said there was some great stuff in this show. I am.
It seemed like you were okay with it. How you phrased it.
I'm not feeling it. Whatever magic you guys see from the show, I've watched 4 episodes now, and it just doesn't do it for me. Nothing.
4 like hour and a half long episodes.
Yeah,
they're bulky
because it was homework. I did my homework, and it's just.
Hey, don't play like I don't do homework every week.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I don't feel like it's not the show. It's me. For whatever reason, it's not clicking with me.
You know what's interesting? So the way that I found this show, obviously I wasn't doing a podcast at the time. I wasn't watching it for a show, but BBC America would be on in the cafe at my college, and this would always be on, especially the celebrity segment. And I feel like that is such, which granted they don't do the celebrity segment on the new show.
Yeah, they kind of drop it and they make a joke about it, like, we can't do it.
Well, even when they tried it, it wasn't the same. Like, it was the star in the reasonably priced car.
And that, honestly, that is the segment that I miss most out of Grand Tour.
Yeah,
is not having a celebrity in a reasonably priced car anymore.
Well, and you would see these on like in the cafe, and they would just be on loop, and then you watch a little bit afterwards, and it's like, oh, now they're talking about a car. And then when you get into the mini films that they do, where they go on these trips and stuff, I feel like then that's kind of like the last level, where if you like that stuff, you're hooked.
But to go back to what Grant was going to say,
right.
This is the most Grand Tour thing ever. It's like the TV dude's equivalent of the Grand Tour. Please go on, Grant.
Oh well,
I was talking about how much I hated Jeremy Clarkson.
You
were
talking about that, and all of a sudden, I tuned back into the show, and it was the Detroit episode, and he just suddenly starts just like ripping on like all the people like growing stuff, like and
the vegetabilists,
and just like destroying like all that, and like, no, we need cars, and I hate all these hippies and this bullshit. And then the next episode, they're making fun of gay people. They do some jokes about trans people, and I'm just like, oh, Randy's got to be like just wincing and like so angry.
So Grant was enjoying my misery.
Oh yeah.
So that's my main issue. Is like it doesn't feel like a character. I really hate Jeremy.
Oh, he's a shithead.
Like he feels like so.
I think it's pronounced gearhead.
So every time I get to see something cool, like one of the really weird hypercars that they drive at like a ridiculous speed down
wishing
an
for it
open
to
road,
crash.
Which I actually did want to mention one of those before we
or
quit
watching
talking about
him spin a car in that drift so long that the instructor has to ask to get out of the car so he can vomit.
Right.
Like shit like that's great, but for everything like that, I then have to watch Jeremy just shit on electric vehicles as a concept for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
and like just be this ridiculous curmudgeon. Also,
I mean, he's a bore. He's a
I hate
buffoon
cars.
too.
Like I don't like my car. I don't like driving. It takes an absolutely ridiculous car for them to drive for it to clear a level of like, what is that rocket ship? Because if they're just in a Porsche against a Bugatti or something, like everyone on screen right now is an asshole. Those cars cost more than the small nation. Like, I hate everything about this. They're bad for the environment. They're bad for the like everything about this is bad.
It's classist.
It's colonial.
So
fuck.
it brings up everything I hate about cars.
Yeah.
Also, I have never enjoyed driving.
Yeah.
Like it is an activity whereby I cede almost every right I have in society to any level of privacy and can just be pulled over, and then whatever happens next is the whim of that cop. Every time I drive, and this is all I think about. Like I fucking hate driving. Everybody's like, it's super fun. You can go super fast in this car. Like, where in America can you go super fast that you might not get pulled over? And then, hey, what's on your agenda for the rest of the year? Fucking with this ticket.
You know what's interesting? What's interesting here is that I am of the four of
two
us.
of you own good cars.
I'm
right?
close. I think Grant is closer than me, but I'm a kind of a like I like the car
really
stuff.
expected
I am
Randy
not a
to
car
like it.
person.
But you have the most.
But you
badass
got a
car
cool
of the
car
four.
with some curves.
Correction. My wife has a cool car. My
You
wife
can't
has
name it Billy Joe.
Yeah. My wife has a 1971 Corvette Stingray.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It does
But
look rad. It
not
looks
my
super
car.
fucking rad.
It's just a gas guzzling like monstrosity to me. And I do call it Billy Ray. That's the name
Billy
of it.
Ray.
And for more on that, we are going to do our Patreon this week about cars.
Oh yeah, we talk more about
but
our cars.
That's the weird thing. Like you and Kyle both like this more than me. I think the thing that Les dislikes is not the thing I dislike. I like the car stuff. I just hate the dudes. And the funniest thing to me, the thing that almost got me on board was the episode, the second part of Columbia, where they fixed Jeremy Clarkson's car up, where it was playing It's Raining Men on a loop, and he couldn't do anything about it. And they're like, no, just fix it. All the controls are there. And you look down, and the controls are all in Japanese.
Oh, that's
And I was like, oh,
Yep.
fuck. I don't like pranks. I don't like... I don't like Jeremy Clarkson, but somehow you combine pranking Jeremy Clarkson, and I was on board.
Yeah, I like how they featured different cars. Like it was neat to see the comparisons of the what was it called, The Exorcist and the
Demon.
Oh, yeah.
the Demon and
And the Mustang,
and how they tried racing them. I like that they were obviously stopped from street racing the Mustang. Like,
Yeah.
They really wanted to.
Yeah.
There's no
Well,
reason they would have had
also,
to stop
a little
otherwise.
backstory is last season, Richard Hammond got into a really bad accident that shut down production for a little bit, where he drove some supercar off the side of a cliff.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it was an uphill race.
He lost his shins.
And yeah, he just went up this hill and
Lost
just
his shins?
shot off the side.
That's why he's the height of cotton now.
As a short man.
Oh man.
Which I think, well, and that's the thing. You guys talk about who these people are. And I honestly believe these are characters that they're playing, that when they say something xenophobic or homophobic, they know that they're saying something xenophobic or homophobic.
Well, they've obviously like typecast them, and like there's a certain point in the second episode of this season where I think Clarkson outright says, "I'm the centrist, and Hammond's going to be the right crazy super Brexit guy, and May is on the left." And then I started noticing how they kind of like lean into and play into those characters. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, before we close on this, just to get back to one of the things I love about the show, in the first episode, Detroit, they have the new McLaren, the Senna McLaren. And if you guys haven't seen the Senna documentary, like, you need to check this thing out. It is one of the best racing movies I've ever seen. Ron Howard did that movie Rush, where he tried to replicate what these guys did in this documentary. And I like Rush, but I mean, this documentary, I don't think anything like this could ever exist again, just because of the footage that they had from the time that they were able to use.
Yeah, I've heard rave reviews about.
Oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. But what's so crazy about this car is if you put this car up against a faster car in a straight line, it's going to lose. But that's not what's so special about this car. This car is engineered in like so many minute little ways to be fast on a racetrack, to have better braking, to have better acceleration, like all these little things that you don't think about. But these people, like Senna being one of them, who are just like, they're nerds about racing, about speed, about all this stuff. It's like, it's their thing. And this car is this, perfect example of like when you get like all of that just perfect, magic can happen.
Kyle,
and it looks badass.
I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you're into cars.
I think you're in the car, man.
Well, like the two-parter, the Columbia expedition, was pretty fun to me because it felt a bit more uncharacteristic of what I thought the show was. Like the first episode has all these little segments, and it seems like it'd be a feature spotlight on Detroit. I'm like, okay, that's kind of what I thought Top Gear is. And then the other one is this like two-part adventure, and like seeing them just like traverse the land, seeing how beautiful the different areas of Columbia are. Just wide ranging from the Amazon to the high mountains. It was just felt like a completely different land, and like them just like loving the area that they're in and exploring it and being goofballs. I'm like, I'm okay with that. I was just pretty engaged with that. I know it was super contrived, but I like when there's a ditch and they roll the truck into the ditch so that they can drive the other cars over top of it, only to have to turn right back around because there's nowhere else they can go. Like it was a stupid, silly segment, and I was just laughing about how dumb it was. And then that fourth episode was bad. Like I didn't like the fourth one, the most recent one that came out, because it did felt like it was like all disjointed. It didn't really have a good overarching theme, and like all the little vignettes just were the same punchline of Clarkson's an asshole. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the weakest one this season. I agree with you for sure.
There's nothing about Grand Tour that doesn't feel like a throwback towards a better show. Like it just reminds me of Top Gear at every turn. It makes me feel like when Howard Stern and them first started moving to satellite, and like it's going to be better. Like I'm pretty sure you lost your gig for a reason, and this is just going to be watered down weird.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I've never seen any Top Gear, but when I posted about hating Jeremy Clarkson, wishing he'd die in a fire, whatever I said, everyone in my feed was talking about how I should go watch Top Gear. Like Top Gear's better, and it does. Kyle, I'm curious. Do you think Top Gear's better, or are you on board Grand Tour as like?
Oh, no. What Les said is 100% true. Okay. Like, Top Gear was a better show. The thing is, it's the same people who made Top Gear who are making this, except all this great stuff they came up with, like the Star and the Reasonably Priced Car, and, a few other of their segments.
Stig.
Yeah, the Stig. Oh, my gosh.
Stig?
Like, things like that, like, they lost it, and
do it.
It really stinks because there's so much magic with that, and I think there is still something to like about this show, but the old show is just so much better.
Yeah, it's hard watching somebody just try to recreate a show without getting close enough to get sued. It's really weird because I would say anybody who's trying to figure out what was at all enjoyable about it should go back and look up either Cameron Diaz and I think Tom Cruise might have been the same episode or
that was a good one.
Nearby. They both drive the Reasonably Priced Car, and Cameron Diaz curses like a sailor. It's amazing. And Tom Cruise has had so much stunt driving training in that man's life that like you can see.
You think he's going to kill himself? Like,
and so do they. Like you can see the fear on their face. Like Tom Cruise puts it up on 2 wheels, and you can see them all look at each other of like, what do we do if we kill Tom Cruise on this stupid fucking show?
I love the one where they drive that 3-wheel car. And it's like a 1 wheel in the front.
Yeah.
And like they keep spinning it over and they have to keep putting it back up. Like the old Top Gear segments were pretty brilliant. And I remember I went on this trip to England. Well, we just my wife and I stayed over one night in England. And so we visited a friend and we went over to their house, their parents' house. And when we got there, we thought, they'll show us around. And so they're like, no, come on upstairs. We're going to do what our family does, and they all gathered around the TV and shut the fuck up and watched Top Gear. And my wife and I just like looked at each other and like, I guess this is our night in England. We're watching Top Gear. It was like a religious experience for them. It was like, okay.
That's hysterical.
Well, you guys did not convert me over to Grand Tour, but you may have convinced me I should go back and watch some Top Gear.
At least check it out on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you're maybe not going to do the long episodes, you're definitely going to find clips that you're going to dig.
All right.
Well, there you go. Not Kyle. We have discussed Top Gear, and we're good for a year.
By the way, thanks, Not Kyle. Thank you very much.
Sure, like it's not you.
Whatever, dude.
Also, by the way, Not Kyle, if you are real, thank you for not making us watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, jeez. It could be worse. Doctor Who.
Right, not Randy.
Now, Doctor Who just wrapped up its, I think, 37th season or something.
I think it's 11th with the new, since Eccleston.
This is the 11th Doctor.
She's the 13th.
No.
13th Doctor.
11th season since Eccleston with the 13th Doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched any of this since halfway through Tenet when I was just done.
So I'm a little bit behind. I have this whole season waiting for me at home, but I've been out of town for the last week.
And I watched the first 2 with Jodie.
Oh wow!
And I liked her a lot.
See, I skipped the New Year's Eve special, and I'm like, oh dang, I'm going to be behind.
I'm sad I've missed I know that this year instead of a Christmas special, they did a New Year's special because they said flat out we've done all the Christmas shit we could possibly do.
Real quick. Where we were picking up this season, everybody knows by now the Doctor is a lady now. Jodie Whittaker took over this season as the 13th Doctor. And along with her, we've got 3 new companions, which I find
no companion really. Like we've just got a group of friends.
Yeah, I mean, in kind of a mishmash way. There's Yaz, Ryan, and Graham. And then Graham and Ryan have this unique relationship because Graham is married to Ryan's mother or grandma. To Ryan's grandma, and we learn more about that in the first 2 episodes. I don't want to really get into spoiler stuff, but they have a really interesting relationship that develops over the season.
Are they all time travelers then?
The companions, yeah, that's their thing. Is they become time travelers with the Doctor, but they're just kind of coming along.
So Graham and that other person are from 2 different timelines.
No, they're from Earth. They're like
from
us.
The same,
yeah.
But instead of the Doctor landing and grabbing like one human and then dragging that human along like Rose,
right.
She grabbed a group.
Yeah, this time, like she ended up with a group in the first one in the first episode, kind of trying to find her bearings, and then didn't send anybody away.
Well, and Matt Smith has even done this where he's like, I've never had a gang before. I want to try this.
Yeah, he had Amy and Rory.
Yeah, he had Amy and Rory. Yeah.
Well, and then in the Dinosaurs on a Spaceship episode, he brought in Rory's dad and a few other people, Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Rory's dad.
But anyways, so we go into this new season, and one of the big shifts that I've seen with this season is that they focus less on the season arc and have tried to focus more on the vignettes, the little single episodes. And my gut reactions is I don't think they did a great job.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I did like the season arc, like where they start in the first 2 episodes where you guys have seen, and then they definitely go back and readdress that at the end of the season. And I do like how that wrapped up, but that's literally 2 episodes out of the season where they address it. There's no cracks in the wall, no bad wolf, nothing like that to kind of like get us looking for Easter eggs or
kind
things
of
like
just
that.
Monster of the Week or Adventure of the Week.
Well, it's Monster of a Week with guys who haven't been running the show
this is new
consistently.
Crew,
right? This is it Christian Ball? I don't have the stats up, but you could definitely tell there are new people that are in charge of this, and they're trying to do new things, but for the most part, they're just playing it safe. And the Doctor's kind of a hard character to write for because we know in the end she's going to fix everything, that everything's going to turn back. Characters who died, don't always die, although this show is great at, killing off people we love. But when you have somebody like that, that's so OP and it's like, how do you make the adventure fun? And there's been a lot of times where they've just kind of fallen short. What are you guys thinking where you're at?
I really like Whittaker as the Doctor.
I do too. I liked her a lot.
From the very first episode where she's trying to remember her name and has that she gets to have that kind of the same moment Matt Smith had of like, stop and go look me up. And then get the fuck off my planet.
Yeah.
That for some reason I love England and you need to leave. And she really has that, which is great. I really like the outfit when she puts it together, much better than I did on the still leaks.
Yeah.
But as excited as I was to see what the new crew would do, I haven't enjoyed the standalone episodes quite as much this season. And you're right, there's an absence of like a big girl who waited kind of thing.
Yeah.
That fell really flat for me with Clara. Like that really did, and it kind of broke me
hers
off
was
the
kind
show.
of a stinker.
It ran too long and it broke me off the show. And so I get them trying to do something different, but it just didn't quite bring me back the way I wanted to.
They maybe went too far in the other direction.
Yeah, and I wonder if they were playing it a little safe, maybe partly because the whole crew was new, but partly because they were already catching so much like just having Jodie Whittaker was new. And was wild and was blowing some people's minds. How can the Doctor? It's an alien.
Yeah.
How can it be a woman though? Women can't run time travel stuff.
Well, what I'm scared of, and here's the thing: I didn't think that the first season with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name, white hair.
Peter Capaldi.
Used to curse, yeah. I didn't think the first season with Capaldi, that Clara season we were actually talking about, it didn't grab me, and because of it, I fell off and then had to come back and kind of binge my way back up. But I'll be damned if that last Capaldi season I didn't think was way better, and they definitely found their groove with him. I'm hoping this finds its groove too. because it's not the Doctor, it's not the companions. I feel like all the characters are spot on.
I like those choices.
They're even written good. It's the adventures that need some work. And I was going to say, my fear is that with Moffat and with Davies, that we just got really lucky with these super imaginative people who were in the right place at the right time to make this show. And hopefully there's still people.
I feel like this will dial in. I mean, this show has gone for so long that it's like getting to have a Star Wars show or something now where if you want, everyone on writing staff can be like, this can be their childhood dream. Like I guarantee that there's television writers in England, probably a dime a dozen who would kill to get to write Who. Mm-hmm. Like that's got to have been a childhood dream when you were hiding behind the couch watching Cybermen.
Yeah. If I worked on the show and I could change one thing, all right, how badass would it be? Windows on the TARDIS. Now, you're like
Microsoft Windows?
Microsoft Windows.
This would explain
95.
A lot about the TARDIS's malfunctions.
The inside. Like, they always change the design.
Oh, yeah. Every time they change the design, it should,
But what if there was some, like, type of, like, the background of the TARDIS, like, you could actually see outside of it, and it did, like, kind of a cool thing where it warped, like you could see the space outside of you, so, like, stars would look normal, but then if you landed somewhere, it would just look really funky and weird.
And for just a little second in the first episode, you'd see something go past one of the windows right before the credits, and that would be the big bad for the whole season.
Yep. Yes! That's what I'm talking about.
And if you were, like, stuck for a while, there'd be a flying window screensaver.
I'm liking this idea too, not as much, but
okay. Well, staying in the same sci-fi vein, let's talk about Sex Education over on Netflix.
I don't think you watched this show.
I did not.
Though a lot of people on the internet freaked out because it seems to be set in a no man's land in a no year.
Yeah, it's period, but not period.
Yeah, so they've all got. I mean, they're talking about modern songs. They're talking about Kelly Clarkson and shit.
They've got cell phones.
The clothing,
but the clothing, it looks total throwback John Hughes.
Yeah,
and they're clearly in. I think they're in Wales where they're shooting this, but they're in a British school. But they're wearing like a letter jacket, like a straight up letter jacket, which British schools don't do. And so there's a lot of weird, like, is this America? Is this England? I loved it.
I did too.
It set it in like a no kind of fictional place that I could just let all of it go and enjoy the best of all of it. Then I looked online, and apparently some people's heads burst over the fact that you could not isolate the geography of this show.
So I loved this show, and it's the setting of it is it's a British boarding school. Gillian Anderson is a sex researcher.
She's playing Emma Thompson as
she's a sex educator, and she is very open about her sex life. She had a brutal divorce with her husband. She lives with her
son, who is also some kind of sex therapist. Yes, they co-wrote a book together. I think.
And her son Aja Butterfield is like a teenager, and he's got a best friend who is gay, and basically things happen in the first episode where this new sort of punk girl in school,
Maeve,
that he has a crush on, basically realizes that he is good at giving sex advice despite the fact that he's a virgin.
Yeah, he's a super weird, awkward kid, but he's absorbed enough from
his
living
mom.
with his weird ass mom.
And
hasn't even jerked it.
And so she comes to the idea of, let's make him a sex therapist for teenagers because they very badly need it. I'll handle the money and the bookings. You do the advice.
It's a little like the movie Charlie Bartlett.
I was about to say
in
that
regard. He becomes this therapist for other kids, even though he has no, like, these kids won't talk to him outside of school.
Yeah. And you know how, like, when they do like X-Files or whatever else, they open with this weird like vignette, or James Bond or whatever, they open this vignette that's like a case or
the person dying and
or whatever the weird thing is. This opens with a sex scene every time, and it's whatever the sexual problem is, and then we see that paid off later in. There's also an ongoing story about him and the relationship with Maeve, and possibly
which is beautifully handled.
The other girl who's like just wants to get laid, who I love, the awkward girl, the awkward band girl just wants to get laid. His gay friend who goes through some brutal shit there's a gay bashing incident that happens.
Their ability to keep that character from becoming either the magical black best friend or the gay best friend, either one. Like, his arc is really strong.
It's really good. The bit with his dad is one of my favorite moments in the show.
When he confronts his bully, Adam, about, like, you're terrified of your dad.
Yeah.
That must be really sad. You're like watching the bully react to like this gay black kid going, wow, man, that's sad.
Also, their bullying thing was interesting because usually when you see a bully in a show, it feels a little it feels a little like made up. Like no bullies don't actually beat you up for your lunch money. This guy does, and it still feels authentic.
Oh yeah, like
when he took the curly whirly, it's like what the hell is even a curly whirly? British TV. Sorry,
Yeah.
Keep going.
so. How much of this? Randy,
I've seen
you
all
finished
of it.
it.
I've seen all
Just
of it.
first episode.
Okay.
Oh, okay. There's some notable
There's
twists.
some notable twists.
Ooh, let's spoil some of this.
Yeah.
So the thing with the bully, did you get that vibe from the first episode? 'Cause
from the first
Wait,
time
can
he
I
leaned
guess?
into him.
Can I
Yeah.
guess? Yeah, the bully's totally gay.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Although, but I will
the
say
first time he
this.
puts him against the locker and they lean in, I was like, they're about.
He gets that close to everybody's face.
Yes,
Like
yes.
when he talks to people, it's like he's going to
Yeah.
kiss
They
them.
play it really well.
I thought the impotence thing was going to go. So when that turned out to not be the issue,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they obviously must not be going in that direction.
Yeah, which
but-
is why I thought it was clever of them to do it. They knew we were going to read it that
Yeah.
way. They did a different thing, and then it looks like he's like the stalker trying to get the girl back, and then his arc's going to be completely different. It's all about his dad, who's the headmaster of the school, and
great casting for that character too. The
yeah.
dad is scary.
another very British thing. There's a head boy.
yes.
And
Okay, what the hell is that? Because
he's
I remember
the
that from
you're like
Harry
best-
Potter,
you're best
but
kid,
I didn't know
like-
that was a real thing.
valedictorian, basically.
Oh, okay.
You're like the trustee of this prison.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's got like hall passes and he can like write
Oh, yeah,
people
you can
up.
do whatever you want.
Yeah. So
Nice.
that character, again, he's the jockey character, and he could easily have been a stereotype, but they do such a good job. And the fact that he's got two moms.
Yes.
And that
Who are fighting? And they have their own thing going on at home.
and they put him and Maeve together, and it's a relationship you like, even though you, in your heart of hearts, you want
please
Maeve to be with
Otis.
yeah, with
Otis.
Otis, and you kind of want him away from Maeve's brother and family and stuff because
Yeah.
like, it's going. Yes, this kid is under too much pressure of sports and stuff, but
Yeah.
him throwing it away right now really, really will fuck his whole life up.
Yeah, yeah.
And watching like Maeve call him out on like your mom goes to every like your mom
Yeah.
shows you she loves you every day. Shut up about this.
Yeah.
It is beautifully. That's what this show does every single episode that surprises me. Where Good Place constantly surprises me with a plot twist where
Yeah.
I'm like, you are the most imaginative people ever. This shocks me every time with the best handling of almost every issue they bring up.
Yeah.
The moment where he, the case of the episode is the kid that keeps doing huge romantic gestures to the girl.
Yes.
And she doesn't know who he is because
Yeah.
he's really inept at this. The like calm, no, she's gotten it. She doesn't like you. You have to move on.
Yeah.
But what if she has okay, I'm just going to go through it one more time.
Yeah.
She doesn't like you. And like he just keeps patiently like,
Yeah.
hey man, she does, but and the other kid keeps having the Dumb and Dumber reaction of
Yeah.
like Lloyd going, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
And he just keeps calmly like shutting down this 80s romance
Yeah.
rom-com thing. And over and over and over, like I sat there with my jaw open like
Yeah.
that's the way that throughout the whole show, every time they bring up a sex thing, they handle it fucking beautifully.
There's also, for all that the kid stuff is done well, Gillian Anderson's story about like
Yeah.
not being able to commit again and trying to keep everything casual, and that story with her Swedish handiman.
Oh, I love all
Like,
of that.
That was all great.
Her bad read on him
Yeah.
was amazing and
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
When he she
Yeah.
does a whole Sherlock
She
Holmes
totally
thing of guessing,
misreads
and
him.
she completely
Question. Something that I was picking up on in the first episode is with Otis.
Yeah.
How he is at that age, which it's kind of hard because obviously the actor playing the kid is, older than 18 and
Right.
probably went through puberty a long time ago. But he's at this age where he's learning about his body and all that. And everybody around him is talking about it,
Yeah.
like his best friend's like, who didn't have sex this summer,
But how many people fuck in that school? It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's like relying on him for advice. I say all this because I'm wondering if you guys get the sense that like he's not ready and that he just because everybody else is doing
Yeah.
it, he shouldn't have to push himself, or he shouldn't he can take his own time.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes through a little arc of that where he kind of tries to force it, like I'm gonna go masturbate, and it goes badly.
Yeah.
He kind of tries to force it with the band girl, and it goes very badly.
Yeah.
When she calls him out on that later of like, you fucking owe me.
Yeah.
That was a really bad sexual
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
All of that is just great because like when it finally the way the season ends is kind of when he it happens naturally and it shocks him and it's a wonderful moment because they built it up like this.
So they have an igloo moment at the end of it.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Like I was continually impressed with the show. I'm so glad I got a season 2.
Yeah, got renewed for season 2. I'm super happy about it. This is one of my favorite things I've seen this year. And also, there's a little thing they did. It's on the Netflix YouTube site, I think, where the kids explain British slang.
Oh, cool! I haven't seen that.
And it's fun. You can see that they actually either they really like each other or they're good at putting on PR to look like they like each other. And that went a long way for me too. I'm like, this looks like a good cast that gets along. There's good chemistry.
Anderson is really great in this too.
Yeah.
Though I yell at her, I yell at the screen a couple
she's
times.
A terrible
she's
person.
A terrible mom. She's such a robot, and you could see like you were doing this to your kid. But I love Asa Butterfield. I really wish Ender's Game had been better.
Yeah, he carries.
I really like that kid.
What about Hugo? He was in Hugo.
He's great in Hugo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, this show is awesome. The soundtrack is
the soundtrack's
phenomenal.
amazing. There's a Spotify playlist that I've been listening to.
Yes, both.
Nice.
Edwin, I can't remember. There's a lot of original music by one guy. He's actually the guy who plays the prom.
Okay.
Is the original music that's on a lot of it, but they weave in just the most flawless choices.
Yeah, the music's so good.
Yeah, even they do I think in the last episode they do a straight up Ferris Bueller callback.
Yeah.
That was really impressive.
Yeah, this was great, and I'm super happy I watched it.
Yeah,
one of the best things I've seen. It is listener question time. So if you guys like us over on Facebook at facebook.com/TV Dudes once a week or once every other week, I don't know. We can't change things up. Randy puts up a little post. You guys can ask us some questions. We're going to try and answer some of those right now. First question comes to us, guys, from Marvin A. Lanier, who says, with Game of Thrones final season looming, are you dudes at all excited for the prequel series? Or would you rather see, and shut up less, or would you rather see a future series set in a hyper fantasy version of our world? What is dead may never die, except terriers, of course.
So I'm curious about the prequel, but I also I'm ready to get to the end of Game of Thrones, and see how it all wraps up. I don't know that I necessarily am like dying to see more of this world.
Yeah, I'm not hyped for it. I'm not like dismissive of it. It's there, and I'm like, exactly. I'm like, I'm ready for the conclusion of this, and if it leaves me wanting more of that world, and if we check out that first episode and it's kind of fun, I'm down.
Can I talk about the business of this for a second? Because this kind of worries me about prestige television like this. You have all of these sets and all the stuff that they've built for Game of Thrones as we know it now. So, to not make another show, they would lose money on all that. Like just the wall. Where the Night's Watch is at, just that set alone, they're like, what the heck are we going to do with this once
CGI,
the show's over? I mean, but no, there's a lot of like stuff that they have to build for it.
Just the weather machine that they built to bring winter.
Well, but I mean, like we saw. Stop! Take me seriously.
How are dragons going to get any more work?
But no, like this happened with Harry Potter.
I'm honestly looking forward to a lot more dragon movies because of this.
But no, I mean, if like the only reason that they continue on is because it's a good investment, kind of like with the new Harry Potter films,
like that baby from Ally McBeal that turned up in everything.
Should that make us worried about future Game of Thrones?
Dude, you're right. It's like, I mean, people are.
I hate you, Les.
People are recognizing the value of the franchise, and I mean, you're always going to hear the same tired old argument of, but then we're not going to get a bunch of new stuff. Yeah, we are. We're still going to get Future Man. We're going to get Russian Doll. We're going to get some crazy shit that pops up like left and right. We aren't lacking for new crazy TV shows right now.
Yeah.
Like we are spoiled with how many shows we have right now. So if they want to try and bring more of this franchise and milk it for what they can, I don't care. I don't have to watch it.
I'd rather they do that than say season 4 of Crashings into Medieval Castles.
Man, are you sure?
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah.
if you want to watch a hyper fantasy version of our futuristic hyper fantasy version of our world, Shannara Chronicles already exists.
So, and also real quick, while we're talking about Game of Thrones, the season finale of Doctor Who, which I think I'm the only one who watched, the guest star was the actor who played Robert Baratheon, King Baratheon.
Oh,
I like that dude.
Yeah,
Which
Fred Flintstone himself, right?
Oh, was that him too?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Mark
Addy.
Mark Addy.
That guy is so good. Like the King Baratheon character, like he plays a total opposite character to
Yeah.
that in a ton of stuff. And I'm always like, have to give him the double take. Like, is that you?
Zach McLaren says, so upon watching The Passage, a DFT show or Dumb Fun Trash show, now I know that acronym.
Really trying to figure that acronym.
I couldn't help but notice that the male lead had a stunning resemblance to Chris Pratt, perhaps by design, and I imagined him as Burt Macklin saves girl from self-hating vampires, which makes this ridiculous DFT show watchable. What shows, DFT or otherwise, would be made better if the lead was replaced by either Burt Macklin or Johnny Karate?
Oh, God,
or
what wouldn't?
Satan help us all, both.
The following would have been amazing if it was about Burt Macklin tracking down serial killers.
If the serial killer had been Johnny Karate,
Oh, yeah.
Burt Macklin has to stop him. I'd watch the hell out of that.
Yeah, I would have watched that show.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
A show that's on right now that I think it's like I'm kind of digging it, but I know everybody else is going to hate it. The Rookie with Nathan Fillion. Put Burt Macklin in that show. Everybody'd love it.
I want Burt Macklin in every CSI. He's the guy who comes and fucks up the lab every time.
The Path with Johnny
Or
Karate.
in Dexter. He's just another guy in the office.
Who just keeps fucking up blood samples.
I don't know. I think this guy's killing people.
Dokes is like, Jesus Christ, what's wrong with you?
I had Dexter dead to rights 5 times, and Johnny Karate fucked up the exit. Johnny Karate obviously should be in Cobra Kai season 2.
Yes.
Season 6 of The Wire just needs Burt Macklin joins the team.
You know what's funny is because every show is a procedural, you could really put Burt Macklin in everything.
Anything.
Burt Macklin working with Lucifer, I'd watch that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Macklin and Poirot in the ABC murders.
Macklin and Monk. Get a little alliteration in the title. Monklin.
Eminem, I like it.
All right, last question, guys. This one comes to us from Daniel Uvaldo, who says, dudes, do you think streaming shows are making nudity and sex more mainstream and less of a big deal?
No.
Well, we did just watch a show where we saw some guys junk in the first episode.
That's true.
It opened with a big boning scene.
Addition of international television. I think we're all getting a lot more international television, and we're the most prudy TV making country.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting. I think we're seeing more TV that's always been like this. I definitely don't think America's getting like prudish.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it seemed like when we were growing up, unless you had extended cable, like you wouldn't see any of this kind of stuff. Like
That's
We
true.
have come a
Growing
long
up,
way from Dennis Fran's ass.
like
Remember the
It was
Scramble Channel? 73, 56?
yeah, it would like you have to have a magazine passed down to you, like a legacy kind of nudie magazine,
Or
like,
find it in the woods like you're on a
So-
freaking quest or something.
and then all of a sudden it was like, wait, this internet.
Yeah,
It's everywhere, guys. Do my parents know about this? No, they didn't.
I think Kyle lived near the same apartment complex I did.
yeah.
No, I think porn in the woods is just a thing.
Yeah.
We went on the same quest.
Just
What's a
bros
porn
always
magazine?
helping
What
out
are
other
woods?
bros. Just hiding porn everywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I think that now that Netflix is just common, if we, we're all seeing nudity and everything now.
You know what I like about it is because you turn on a Netflix show or HBO, you tend to tell like the quality's a little different, but especially with Netflix, a lot of times these feel a lot like a network show would. So when you get the nudity, it's kind of jarring because you're so used to that being kind of taboo. It does jar you a little bit more.
But the question is, what's mainstream? Because network shows have not changed particularly about this.
Well, so yeah, network shows I don't maybe loosen a little. I mean, the
little
NYPD
bit
Blue
now.
thing
Yeah.
it was. I remember the whole freak out over that.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like we have come a ways from that, but. Like the basic cable stuff, like USA shows and stuff, like the ones that end up on streaming or that I watch on their apps now, those curse like they literally just got allowed to yesterday. Like they just hit junior high or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you can tell the it's a heated scene and I'm a lawyer, so I'm going to tell you better fucking do that. And like And it's always weirdly jarring, like a Terrence and Phillip thing or something.
They Gordon Ramsay was on Hot Ones a couple weeks ago, and it made me realize how much I watch him on Fox, because every other word out of his mouth is fuck. But Fox is constantly like editing him and censoring him. Like, he curses constantly, but it's not until you hear him on like a show where he can do that, where you're like, no, he curses every other word.
That's how I felt about Cameron Diaz the first time I heard her speak the way she really speaks.
I'm Burt Macklin, and I'm from the fucking FBI.
What? All right, folks. That's it. That's our episode. We want to say, give a special thanks to not Kyle, as well as Kyle, for this episode. Thanks, Kyle, for sharing your Anglophile
Did you
ways
just
with us.
Did you just thank Kyle twice?
Yes.
No, he thanked me and not me. So technically, that it's a wash.
Yeah,
There's
there's no thanks.
There's no thanks to either of us.
You can't thank Kyle and not Kyle. The whole thing will explode.
Yeah, it's thanks and anti-thanks, and they've touched.
That was as neutral a statement as I could make there. But yeah, thank you for supporting us. Thank you to all the rest of the patrons. And we want to say, if you guys want to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. Make a per episode pledge. Send me your address and I'll send you a sticker. I keep trying to sell these stickers. I got a couple stickers. So, yeah, do that.
Paul Mampilli, send us your address.
You think that's your guess?
That's my guess. Well, and also he asked about stickers, so I'm like, let me get that address.
Yeah. Send us your address, dude. All right, guys. Thank you, and we will be back next week. But until then,
TV Dudes out.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TV Dudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.